everyone, and thank you for attending today's virtual public meeting for the Central Florida Expressway Authority's State Road 417 Corridor Widening Projects. My name is Kathy Putnam. I'm a Public Information Officer for projects with the Central Florida Expressway Authority. Before we begin, we wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen are multiple application engagement tools that you can use. All the engagement tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. You can expand your slide area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. If you have any questions during the meeting, you can submit them through the Q&A engagement tool. We'll try to answer all questions during this meeting, but if a fuller answer is needed or we run out of time, we will answer via email within a week. Please know that we do capture all questions. Additional materials, such as project fact sheets, are available in the resource list. We encourage you to download any resources or links that you might find useful. For the best viewing experience, we recommend using a wired internet connection and closing any programs or browser sessions running in the background that could cause issues. This virtual public meeting is bandwidth intensive, so closing any unnecessary browser tabs will help conserve your bandwidth. This meeting is being streamed through your computer, so there's no dial-in number. For the best audio quality, please make sure that your computer speakers or headset are turned on and the volume is up so you can hear the presenters. Some networks cause slides to advance more slowly than others, so logging off your VPN is recommended. If your slides are behind, pushing the F5 key on your keyboard will refresh the page. You can find additional answers to some common technical issues located in the Help Engagement tool at the bottom of your screen. An on-demand version of this virtual public meeting should be available by late afternoon, Monday, June 22nd. It can be accessed using the same audience link that was emailed to you earlier for this live virtual meeting. Let's begin. Again, I'm Kathy Putnam, Public Information Officer with projects for the Central Florida Expressway Authority. With me is Will Hawthorne, Director of Engineering for CFX.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
And we will be talking with Will after the presentation, which we'll go ahead and start now. So again, welcome to the Central Florida Expressway Authority's virtual pre-construction information meeting for segments 1 and 2 of the State Road 417 widening project from International Drive to Landstar Boulevard. CFX is an independent agency of the state, governed by a board of 7 locally elected leaders and 3 governor appointees. State Road 417 is part of the 125-mile regional expressway system that is planned, designed, constructed, maintained, and operated by CFX. CFX operates ePass, the first electronic toll collection system in Florida. With more than 500,000 ePass accounts, the CFX Limited Access Network that serves 3 million residents and more than 75 million visitors is fully funded by toll revenue. No tax dollars are used for CFX's $2.7 billion 5-year work plan. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment at any time during this presentation, just click on the Q&A button on the bottom bar of your screen. You'll be able to type in your question or comment. We are trying to answer each question today, but if your query is detailed or needs some research on our part, we may have to follow up with you in the next week. All questions are being captured, so you'll receive an answer by email. Public comment is essential in this process. Please try to get your comments regarding the information in this virtual meeting into CFX by June 29, 2020. This virtual meeting is being conducted without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express their concerns relative to Title VI compliance by the Central Florida Expressway Authority may do so by contacting Sherry Croteau, Public Information Officer, by mail at 4974 ORL Tower Road, Orlando, Florida 32807, or by phone at 407-383-5817, or by email at construction@cfxway.com. All inquiries or complaints will be handled according to CFX procedure and in a prompt and courteous manner. CFX is widening 22 miles of State Road 417 from International Drive to State Road 528 to improve traffic flow on one of our system's busiest expressways. Each day, up to 95,000 vehicles travel this stretch of State Road 417, and that number is expected to continue growing. This widening initiative is broken into 5 segments to minimize impacts to motorists. During this meeting, we will focus on the first 2 segments to be constructed. The first, from International Drive to John Young Parkway, and the second, from John Young Parkway to Landstar Boulevard. Both segments include widening State Road 417 from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction, for a total of 6 lanes. CFX is also adding wider median shoulders that can temporarily accommodate additional traffic during emergency response events, such as traffic accidents or hurricane evacuations. Each segment also includes several proposed sound walls. During design, a noise study, following state and federal guidelines, is conducted to determine noise impacts associated with the expressway widening. The study identifies noise-sensitive sites, such as homes, schools, churches, and recreational areas along the project corridor. For these projects, sound walls have been considered for areas predicted to experience noise levels that reach or exceed 66 decibels or experience an increase of 15 decibels over existing noise levels. Additionally, the sound wall must provide at least a 5 decibel reduction to be considered feasible. 66 decibels would be slightly louder than heavy traffic at 300 feet away. 15 decibels compares to the noise you would hear at night in a rural area. Think crickets. There is also consideration involving the cost per benefited property. During the design process, property owners who are identified as benefiting from proposed sound walls are asked to vote on whether they want the noise barriers. Ballots, like the one pictured here, have already been mailed to those people identified as benefited property owners for these projects. We've posted the traffic noise analysis on the State Road 417 Corridors Widening Project webpage. Please review it for details or contact us with questions. Now, let's review the proposed sound wall locations for the 2 widening projects. This is a sound wall typical section. It shows the standard placement of the sound wall located at the outside shoulder of the expressway. Beyond the sound wall, you see the fence along the CFX right-of-way. Sometimes a sound wall is built close to the right-of-way line. Construction on the first segment, from International Drive to John Young Parkway, is expected to begin in early 2021 and is expected to be complete by late 2023. In addition to the widening, there are 7 proposed sound walls along this stretch of the expressway, denoted by the orange boxes on the map. This aerial map shows the sound walls proposed at Westshire of Hunters Creek. Wall A, a 22-foot tall wall along northbound State Road 417, would be located near the right-of-way line, behind the John Young Main Plaza. It runs a little more than 2,400 feet, nearly a half mile, behind the Westshire neighborhood. Wall B, also behind Westshire, is mounted on the shoulder. It runs 700 feet, or just over a tenth of a mile, to Hunter's Vista Boulevard. This wall is 14 feet tall. This aerial view focuses on the proposed 14-foot tall sound wall shown at the top of this map. This is along the southbound side of State Road 417 near Terra Vista at Hunters Creek, just west of Hunters Vista Boulevard. This wall is mounted on the expressway shoulder and runs 995 feet, less than a quarter mile, to Hunters Vista Boulevard. This map takes a closer look at the sound walls proposed near the Hunters Creek neighborhoods east of Hunters Vista Boulevard. Wall A is a 14-foot tall wall behind Rain Tree at Hunters Creek. It runs 528 feet, or a tenth of a mile. Wall B, also 14 feet tall, is located behind Mar Vista at Hunters Creek along southbound State Road 417, east of Hunters Vista Boulevard. It is 739 feet long, a little more than a tenth of a mile. Both walls are mounted on the expressway shoulder. This map shows the sound walls proposed east of Town Loop Boulevard, behind the Colonial Grand at Heather Glen Apartments on the southbound State Road 417 side. Wall A is 12 feet tall, 898 feet, or under a quarter mile long, and is mounted on the expressway shoulder. Wall B is 20 feet tall and runs nearly 1,800 feet, or over a quarter mile long. It would be located near the right-of-way line. Construction on the second segment of the State Road 417 corridor widening is also expected to begin in early 2021 and is estimated to be complete by late 2023. This will widen State Road 417 between John Young Parkway and Landstar Boulevard from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction, again for a total of 6 lanes. The wider median shoulders will also be added. There are 7 proposed sound walls along this stretch of the expressway. This map details the 3 sound walls proposed near Park Place at Hunters Creek, east of John Young Parkway, along southbound State Road 417. Wall A, closest to John Young Parkway, is 20 feet tall, runs more than 1,500 feet, or nearly a third of a mile. It will be built adjacent to the right-of-way line. Wall B is 14 feet tall, runs a little more than 1,200 feet, or less than a quarter mile, and will be mounted on the expressway shoulder. Wall C is 20 feet tall and runs over 2,000 feet, or under a half mile long, just past the Deputy Brandon Coates Park. It will be located close to the right-of-way line. These proposed sound walls are near the Southchase and Courtney Chase neighborhoods, just west of the Florida's Turnpike. Wall A is behind Southchase on the southbound State Road 417 side. It It is 22 feet tall and runs just over 1,200 feet, or nearly a quarter of a mile. It's located near the right-of-way line. Wall B is a 14-foot tall wall along northbound State Road 417. It runs a little over 2,000 feet, or under a half mile, from Balcom Road to just past Courtney Chase. It will be mounted on the expressway shoulder. These sound walls are proposed near Rosewood and Meadow Woods, just west of Landstar Boulevard. Wall A is 8 feet tall and runs along northbound State Road 417 from Rosewood to just east of the railroad tracks. The length is just over 1,200 feet, or nearly a quarter of a mile. Wall B is 14 feet tall and runs along southbound State Road 417 behind Meadow Woods. It is close to 1,200 feet, or under a quarter mile long. Both of these sound walls are mounted on the expressway shoulder. We hope this information has been helpful. Don't forget to leave your comments regarding either of these State Road 417 corridor widening projects. These comments must be submitted by June 29, 2020, in order to be entered in the public records. Just click on the Q&A tab shown at the bottom of the screen during our meeting, or you can send comments to construction@cfxway.com. Following this virtual public meeting, a copy of this presentation will be posted to the CFX website at cfxsr417 corridor widening projects.com. If you have any questions before or during the construction of either of these projects, please don't hesitate to contact Public Information Officer Sherry Croteau by phone at 407-383-5817 or by email at construction@cfxway.com. For more information on these projects or any CFX projects, you can log on to cfxsr417 corridor widening projects.com. Again, thank you for joining us. And just a reminder, through the course of our evening will be on until 7:30. We will run through this presentation a couple of times again. We'll be taking some of your questions. You should be receiving some answers already to the questions you are sending in through the Q&A portal on your screen. I'm going to talk with our Director of Engineering, Will Hawthorne, about some of the questions that we know we've received. Will, to kick off the questions, some people ask about the need to widen State Road 417. I mean, the growth on this expressway has really been phenomenal, hasn't it?
Yes, Kathy, it has. I mean, the growth in Central Florida, especially in this area, has meant a drastic increase in traffic on 417. Any regular driver of this portion of the expressway knows exactly what I'm talking about. In fact, when we started design on these just a couple years ago, the 5 years prior to that, traffic had more than doubled, which in our world is unlike anything we've ever seen. Even with the slowdown in people out on the roads because of COVID-19, we know that traffic on 417 will continue to grow due to all the people moving to our area, which some say is as much as 1,500 a week.
Wow. And, that really is phenomenal that in a 5-year period, the traffic growth on this roadway more than doubled. That's amazing. And as we said in the presentation, up to 95,000 cars per day. And of course, this was pre-COVID, but 95,000 cars traveling that roadway. Will, another question, looking at the presentation and looking over the placements of the walls, some are on shoulders, some are near the right-of-way line, different heights. What are some of the considerations that go into designing placement and heights of these sound walls?
Great question. So sound walls are typically most effective when they are closest to the properties they're meant to reduce sound for. However, when the road, or 417 in this case, climbs in elevation, i.e. to go over a bridge, the roadway is likely to be higher than the adjacent property and sometimes even higher than a right-of-way wall if we were to place it there. In these cases, we do analyze a wall placed on the roadway shoulder to see if there's any benefit to those impacted, and we did find that to be the case in many of the situations we analyzed through these two segments.
And again, 14, a total of 14 sound walls being proposed in these two segments. I wanted to ask you about the placement of those walls. Does some of that placement, especially those along the right-of-way or close to the right-of-way line, figure into the eventual build-out of State Road 417?
For the most part, yes. We anticipate 417 will be widened to what we're calling the ultimate build-out at some point in the future. And in this case, it would be 5 lanes in each direction, or a total of 10 lanes. The current widening is predominantly towards the median or the center of the roadway of 417. Excuse me. These future widenings will be built to the outside of 417 as we know it today. Again, it's important to note that all the walls contemplated in this presentation are taking into consideration this ultimate build-out on 417.
Well, and another thing with that placement of the walls near the right-of-way with that ultimate build-out in consideration, years down the road when you're doing that, it's nice for people who are living nearby that there won't be more construction of the walls. They're already in place for some of those areas, so that's nice. And, speaking of thinking about construction, what activity can people expect to see when construction gets underway on both of these segments in early 2021?
Well, I think we all know it's going to get busy out there. And think of the activity that goes into a substantial road construction project of this nature. That includes traffic shifts to provide room for our contractors and their workers, equipment for grading and paving the new lanes that we're installing, all the drainage work for pipes and stormwater, new signage, lighting installation, and of course building these sound walls. So there's a lot of equipment that's going to be out there, and a lot of workers. So we got to be mindful and be safe as we can. There will be pile driving activities associated with bridge and wall construction, and there will also need to be overnight work because we can't close lanes typically during peak travel times, in the AM and PM hours. CFX, we've always strived to minimize construction impacts to those nearby residents and our customers. And we try to keep nighttime work at a minimum, but unfortunately it is necessary. All of that being said, all of our work is going to occur within CFX right-of-way, and we'll have a PIO like yourself coordinating with all of the HOAs and the neighbors for any detours that come about as part of the work we're doing, which final point on that, I'd like to note that detours will most likely be in the evening hours, so that's something to keep in mind.
Perfect. And I did want to bring up that, and you alluded to it, that before construction starts, the public information team will alert folks along the project area that work is about to begin. So that will include getting fact sheets out, making sure that everyone in the area has a name, a phone number, an email of someone that they can reach whenever they have a question or a concern about the project. And we have up on our screen now, let me get back to the contact information for Sherry Croteau, the Public Information Officer. This is, you'll see on the screen now, and again, Sherry's number is 407-383-5817. Anybody who has any questions whenever about any of our projects can email construction@cfxway.com. during construction projects, we have, databases that we keep. Anybody can ask to be put on that database, so they'll receive the alerts whenever there are lane closures or especially ramp closures or any type of detour in their area. Will, we've got a question that came in about vibration associated with, and the question was just, what type of vibration might we expect to see during this?
As I mentioned before, we do have pile driving within the project, and all of our contractors are required to follow state specifications for monitoring for anything within a certain distance. We can get those exact distances for you, at the conclusion of this, and anyone who needs it. But that is something that we're very mindful of, and the contractors are very mindful of, and it's something that we want to monitor throughout.
And if anybody has any concerns about potential activity, anything that's happening, we would ask you, please email us at construction@cfxway.com. Before the project begins, we're always happy to come out to your home. We know that some people like to have somebody come out prior to work beginning to be able to see their property that might be very close to the expressway. So please email us, get on that email list for construction alerts. That's very helpful. Will, these two projects are part of the State Road 417 corridor widening that is broken into, as we had mentioned, and I'm going to go back to this slide that shows the whole corridor so folks can see exactly the 5 segments that are going to be constructed. For anyone looking at the screen, the first 2 are to the far left of the map in purple and orange, and that goes from International Drive to Landstar Boulevard. Then the next one we have coming up is from Landstar Boulevard to Boggy Creek, and then you can see the next one. And actually, just because of design and things that are going on, the next one you would think would be the darker blue from Boggy Creek to Narcoossee Road, but that's actually going to be the final segment constructed. So we're going to go a little out of order, and the 4th one to be constructed will be the purple segment that goes from Narcoossee Road up to State Road 528. So 22 miles of State Road 417, one of the busiest on the CFX way system, We've got a question that came in. One of the questions was, when do residents get the voting card? I'm going to go back to that slide and show you the people during the sound study. There is really good analysis done of the properties that would meet the criteria for a sound wall. Those locations that are shown and those properties that are identified they send all to Chris Cargill.
So I think we should just dial back in.
Okay, I'm asking Ryan.
You're back on.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Hello, everyone. Hey, sorry, we just had technical difficulty there. We understand that our sound went out, so sorry. Let me just quickly, we were discussing about the sound cards, the sound ballots, and who gets the voting card, if you will. And I was explaining that there is a noise analysis done that identifies what properties or what locations would benefit from the location of a sound wall. Those people, those property owners where who are identified where a sound wall would definitely produce some noise reduction, they're the ones who get to vote. Ballots have already been sent out to those people. If you have any question, if you think that you should get a ballot and you haven't received one, we would ask you to email us at construction@cfxway.com, and we will look into that for you. But ballots have gone out. And I'll tell you what, we've got a question about the typical wall section. So let's go over that again, and we'll lead that through. So on the screen, and again, if your screen is lagging, if this is lagging, hit the F5 key, and that should refresh your presentation. So on the screen here, we see what's called a sound wall typical section. You see the elevation of the wall on the bottom. That's what the wall will look like. But up top, you're seeing the cross-section of the roadway. So on the left-hand side of the roadway there, that's showing southbound State Road 417 and the 3 traffic lanes and the wider median shoulder on the inside. In the middle, you see that barrier wall that will be down the middle of the roadway. And then on the right-hand side, obviously, you see the shoulder and the 3 lanes going on northbound State Road 417. So typically, or quite often, the sound wall, as you see here with this purple arrow, is placed at the shoulder of the expressway. So it's very close to the traffic lanes. Sometimes, here, with this purple arrow, you see the right-of-way line for the expressway. And anything to the left of that line is the property of the Central Florida Expressway Authority. Now, sometimes a fence can be built along the right-of-way line. And you see that over on the far left side, the purple arrow on the far left side. It's not quite on the right-of-way line. Usually they're built, 10 to 15 feet off that right-of-way line to give plenty of room for maintenance that needs to occur on the CFX property. So that's a look at the typical section of where sound walls may be built. So I'll tell you what, we are now at 6:35. People may have joined us a little late. We're going to go back, run through the presentation again for anybody who would like to run through. There may be, stick with us for this, there may be some things that you didn't quite get before that you will this time, or you may have some questions after you see the presentation again. So one thing that we would remind you about, any questions that you don't get an answer to tonight, we are capturing all questions. You will receive an answer by email within the next week. If you have any questions after or any comments, please email us at construction@cfxway.com. And then at the end of the presentation again, you will see the link to go to get more information about segments 1 and 2, these widening projects that we're discussing tonight. So let's go ahead and begin the presentation again. Once again, this is the Central Florida Expressway Authority's virtual pre-construction information meeting for segments 1 and 2 of the State Road 417 widening project from International Drive to Landstar Boulevard. CFX is an independent agency of the state governed by a board of 7 locally elected leaders and 3 governor appointees. State Road 417 is part of the 125-mile regional expressway system that is planned, designed, constructed, maintained, and operated by CFX. CFX operates ePass, the first electronic toll collection system in Florida, with more than 500,000 ePass accounts. The CFX limited access network that serves 3 million residents and more than 75 million visitors is fully funded by toll revenue. No tax dollars are used for CFX's $2.7 billion 5-year work plan. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment at any time during this presentation, just click on the Q&A button at the bottom bar of your screen. You'll be able to type in your question or comment. We're trying to answer each question today, but if your query is detailed or needs some research on our part, we may have to follow up with you in the next week. All questions are being captured, so you'll receive an answer by email. Public comment is essential in this process. Please try to get your comments regarding the information in this virtual meeting into CFX by June 29, 2020. This virtual meeting is being conducted without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express their concerns relative to Title VI compliance by the Central Florida Expressway Authority may do so by contacting Sherry Croteau, Public Information Officer, by mail at 4974 ORL Tower Road, Orlando, Florida 32807, or by phone at 407-383-5817, or by email at construction@cfxway.com. All inquiries or complaints will be handled according to CFX procedure and in a prompt and courteous manner. CFX is widening 22 miles of State Road 417 from International Drive to State Road 528 to improve traffic flow on one of our system's busiest expressways. Each day, up to 95,000 vehicles travel this stretch of State Road 417, and that number is expected to continue growing. This widening initiative is broken into 5 segments to minimize impacts to motorists. During this meeting, we'll focus on the first 2 segments to be constructed. The first, from International Drive to John Young Parkway, and the second, from John Young Parkway to Landstar Boulevard. Both segments include widening State Road 417 from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction for a total of 6 lanes. CFX is also adding wider median shoulders that can temporarily accommodate additional traffic during emergency response events, such as traffic accidents or hurricane evacuations. Each segment also includes several proposed sound walls. During design, a noise study, following state and federal guidelines, is conducted to determine noise impacts associated with the expressway widening. The study identifies noise-sensitive sites such as homes, schools, churches, and recreational areas along the project corridor. For these projects, sound walls have been considered for areas predicted to experience noise levels that reach or exceed 66 decibels or experience an increase of 15 decibels over existing noise levels. Additionally, the sound wall must provide at least a 5 decibel reduction to be considered feasible. 66 decibels would be slightly louder than heavy traffic at 300 feet away. 15 decibels compares to the noise you would hear at night in a rural area. Think the sound of crickets. There is also consideration involving the cost per benefited property. During the design process, property owners who are identified as benefiting from proposed sound walls are asked to vote on whether they want the noise barriers. Ballots, like the one pictured here, have already been mailed to those people identified as benefited property owners for these projects. We've posted the traffic noise analysis on the State Road 417 Corridor's Widening Project webpage. Please review it for details or contact us with questions. Now, let's review the proposed sound wall locations for these two widening projects. This is the sound wall typical section. It shows the standard placement of the sound wall located at the outside shoulder of the expressway. Beyond the sound wall, you see the fence along the CFX right-of-way. Sometimes a sound wall is built close to the right-of-way line. Construction on the first segment from International Drive to John Young Parkway is expected to begin in early 2021 and is expected to be complete by late 2023. In addition to the widening, there are 7 proposed sound walls along this stretch of the expressway, noted by the orange boxes on this map. This aerial map shows the sound walls proposed at Westshire of Hunters Creek. Wall A, a 22-foot tall wall along folks, our apologies. We had a bit of a technical difficulty, and we believe that we are back on with you. So I'm going to pick up the presentation where we had it, and we were discussing the proposed sound wall, the 14-foot sound wall shown at the top of this map. This is along the southbound side of State Road 417 near Terra Vista at Hunters Creek, just west of Hunters Vista Boulevard. This wall is mounted on the expressway shoulder and runs 995 feet, less than a quarter mile, to Hunters Vista Boulevard. This map takes a closer look at the sound walls proposed near the Hunters Creek neighborhoods east of Hunters Vista Boulevard. Wall A is a 14-foot tall wall behind Raintree at Hunters Creek. It runs 528 feet, or a tenth of a mile. Wall B, also 14 feet tall, is located behind Mar Vista at Hunters Creek along southbound State Road 417 east of Hunters Vista Boulevard. It is 739 feet long, a little more than a tenth of a mile. Both walls are mounted on the expressway shoulder. This map shows the sound walls proposed east of Town Loop Boulevard behind the Colonial Grand at Heather Glen Apartments on the southbound State Road 417 side. Wall A is 12 feet tall, 898 feet, or under a quarter mile long, and is mounted on the expressway shoulder. Wall B is 20 feet tall and runs nearly 1,800 feet, or over a quarter mile long. It would be located near the right-of-way line. Construction on the second segment of the State Road 417 corridor widening is also expected to begin in early 2021 and is estimated to be complete by late 2023. This will widen State Road 417 between John Young Parkway and Landstar Boulevard from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction. Again, a total of 6 lanes. The wider median shoulders will also be added. There are 7 proposed sound walls along this stretch of the expressway, and once again, you'll see those noted by the orange boxes on the map. This map details the 3 sound walls proposed near Park Place at Hunters Creek, east of John Young Parkway, along southbound State Road 417. Wall A, closest to John Young Parkway, is 20 feet tall, runs more than 1,500 feet, or nearly a third of a mile. It will be built adjacent to the right-of-way line. Wall B is 14 feet tall, runs a little more than 1,200 feet, or less than a quarter mile, and will be mounted on the expressway shoulder. Wall C is 20 feet tall and runs over 2,000 feet, or under a half mile long, just past the Deputy Brandon Coates Park. It will be located close to the right-of-way line. These proposed sound walls are near the Southchase and Courtney Chase neighborhoods, just west of Florida's Turnpike. Wall A is behind Southchase on the southbound State Road 417 side. It is 22 feet tall and runs just over 1,200 feet, or nearly a quarter of a mile. It's located near the right-of-way line. Wall B is a 14-foot tall wall along northbound State Road 417. It runs a little over 2,000 feet, or under a half mile, from Balcom Road to just past Courtney Chase. It will be mounted on the expressway shoulder. These sound walls are proposed near Rosewood and Meadow Woods, just west of Landstar Boulevard. Wall A is 8 feet tall and runs along northbound State Road 417 from Rosewood to just east of the railroad tracks. The length is just over 1,200 feet, or nearly a quarter of a mile. Wall B is 14 feet tall and runs along southbound State Road 417 behind Meadow Woods. It's close to 1,200 feet or under a quarter mile long. Both these walls are mounted on the expressway shoulder. We hope this information has been helpful. Don't forget to leave your comments regarding either of the State Road 417 corridor widening projects. These comments must be submitted by June 29, 2020, in order to be entered into our public records. Just click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen during our meeting, or send your comments to construction@cfxway.com. Following this virtual public meeting, a copy of this presentation will be posted to the CFX website at cfxsr417 corridorwideningprojects.com. If you have any questions before or during the construction of either of these projects, please don't hesitate to contact Public Information Officer Sherry Croteau by phone at 407-383-5817 or by email at construction@cfxway.com. For more information on these projects or any CFX projects, you can log on to cfxsr417 corridorwideningprojects.com, or also you can go to the CFX website at cfxway.com. Again, thanks for joining us this evening, and we're going to go back and talk a little bit about about the noise walls, some of the considerations that go into those. We did get a question. Somebody had asked where can they find the noise analysis. It has been posted to the project web page. So if anyone who's interested in reviewing, and we urge people, please go look at that noise analysis. It has a lot of very specific, good information. And when you look at that and you have questions, please email us at construction@cfxway.com with any questions that you have about it. And you'll see on your screen now, if you go to that cfxsr417 corridorwideningprojects.com, you should find that noise analysis on that webpage. It may take you a little while to look over it. Again, email us at construction@cfxway.com with any questions that you might have regarding that noise analysis or anything else pertaining to these projects. We'll going through, and I'm going to go back to the typical section slide that we were looking at earlier. Some of these walls are placed in different locations, some at the right-of-way line or near the right-of-way line, some very close to the actual roadway on the shoulder. There are different heights of walls. What goes into the design of these? What are the considerations in the placement of these walls?
Great question, Kathy. Because of the way sound travels, sound walls are typically most effective when they're closest to the properties they're trying to reduce the sound for. However, when 417 or the road climbs to go over a bridge, the roadway is likely to be higher than the adjacent property and the sound wall itself that would be placed at the right-of-way. In that case, we analyze a wall that's placed somewhere along the roadway shoulder to see if there's any benefit to those impacted. And as you can see in the results of our study, there are several of those instances included.
And, as we had seen earlier, 14 proposed sound walls within these two projects. And thinking about the number of walls that we do have near the right-of-way line, was there a consideration of the eventual build-out of State Road 417?
Yes. So we anticipate 417 to be widened to what we're calling the ultimate build-out at some point in the future. In this case, it would be 5 lanes in each direction for a total of 10 lanes. The current widening is predominantly towards the median today, or the center of the road for 417. The future widenings, however, will have to be built to the outside. Again, it's important to note that the walls we contemplated at the right-of-way line are taking into account 5 lanes of traffic in one direction, which is the ultimate build on 417.
You know, and thinking about the need for widening, when you think about this is going from 2 to 3 lanes, and eventually you all looking at a widening of 5 lanes in each direction. Talk a little bit about the need for the widening, the growth that CFX has seen on this expressway.
So COVID-19 aside, yes, the growth in Central Florida, especially in this area, has meant a drastic increase on 417. Any regular driver of this expressway knows exactly what I'm talking about. I experienced it on 429. In fact, when we started the design of these projects, the 5-year period prior to that, the traffic on 417 had more than doubled, which is unlike anything we've ever seen. Again, even with the slowdown of people traveling and being out on the roads because of COVID-19, we do anticipate the traffic on 417 to continue to grow due to all of the people moving to our area, which some say is upwards of 1,500 people a week.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, just with that, you can see the need to do that. And as you know, we had discussed in this presentation, 95,000 cars, up to 95,000 cars in this stretch every day. We put back up on the screen the full corridor that the 417 corridor that's going to be widened, and folks can see that there are different colored sections along this 22-mile corridor. And these are the sections, if you will, the individual construction projects that will be taking place. Right tonight, we're talking about the ones on the far left side of the screen, kind of that magenta colored and the orange color. Will, what type of activity can people expect to see when construction starts early next year?
Well, I mean, it's going to get busy. There's no denying that. And the activity to be expected is everything that goes into a substantial road project like this. That includes traffic shifts to make rooms for our contractors and their employees, excuse me, along with their equipment for grading and paving of the new lanes, all the drainage work that's associated with that, the new signage that's associated with the additional laneage, lighting installation. We're converting to LED lights and adding lights where they don't exist today, as well as building the sound walls. So if you want to get into the pile driving activities, that will be out there, and it will be associated with the bridge and wall construction. And there will be a need for overnight work because we do our best not to close lanes during AM and PM peak hours. That only adds to delays that people could already be experiencing. So, I mean, CFX has always strived to minimize construction impacts to nearby residents, and we try to keep nighttime work at a minimum, but unfortunately it is necessary. All of that being said, all of the work going on for these projects are going to be within CFX right away. And the last point I'd like to bring up is the detours, which we've communicated with you and Sherry, and those will be communicated to each of the HOAs as each detour is embarked upon by the contractor. So it's not going to be all the detours all at once. It'll be very specific and dialed in on how we communicate to those that are using those roadways.
And that's something I think for folks to understand, that the public information team will alert people along the project area that work is about to begin. We'll be out there, really, we go door to door and bring the project fact sheet. we make sure that everybody has the name, phone number, and email address for to have somebody to contact with any questions or concerns. And I've put Sherry Croteau's contact information back up on the screen, so anybody has that right now. Will, you had mentioned the detour alerts or any of the construction alerts. We keep databases for all our projects. If you would like to get construction alerts, if you live nearby, if you travel this area a lot, please email us at construction@cfxway.com. Tell us that you want to be put on the list to receive construction alerts for the State Road 417 widening projects. And every time we have a construction alert, you'll receive it, whether it's for lane closures, ramp closures, detours that are needed, and obviously, which we let you know where the detours are, how you need to get back to where you're going. Just email us at, again, construction@cfxway.com, and we'll be happy to get you on that list. You can also, sign up via Twitter at ePass and drive@driveepass, and go on to our Facebook page as well. Go on to our website at cfxway.com. You can see all the different ways to connect with us and receive those alerts.
I have one question. If one were to sign up for those alerts, are those email alerts? Are they text alerts? What kind of alerts are those?
That's a great question. So they are email, and we do it a couple different ways. So we send out email alerts to the database list that we have, community stakeholders, any drivers or nearby residents, anybody who asks to be on the list. We send it out over Twitter. So anytime we have an alert, if you are connected with us via Twitter, you will receive tweets. And quite often the Facebook page, the CFX Facebook page, will pick those up and push those out as well. So you can also go on to cfxway.com, and there is a tab at the top of the page for travelers. If you go on to that tab, there'll be a drop-down menu, and if you hit the 417 roadway shield, that will bring up the project page, and off to the right-hand side, it will say construction alerts. And you can just click on that, and it will show you any of the construction alerts. So several ways to get that information, that important information. Good question. Well, we're going to have one more round of this presentation for anybody who perhaps joined us late or would like to just run through again and make sure they have the information. Again, if your slides are slow in moving through, hit that F5 key on your keyboard, and that will refresh your page. At any time during this, if you have questions or comments, go to that Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. We are trying to answer all your questions this evening. Again, I'm Kathy Putnam, Public Information Officer for Projects with the Central Florida Expressway Authority. With me, who you've been hearing, is Will Hawthorne, who is the CFX Director of Engineering. So we'll go ahead and get started one more time, our last time on the presentation. Again, we're glad that you're with us tonight for the Central Florida Expressway Authority's virtual pre-construction information meeting for segments 1 and 2 of the State Road 417 widening project from International Drive to Landstar Boulevard. CFX is an independent agency of the state, governed by a board of 7 locally elected leaders and 3 governor appointees. State Road 417 is part of the 125-mile regional expressway system that is planned, designed, constructed, maintained, and operated by CFX. CFX operates ePass, the first electronic toll collection system in Florida, with more than 500,000 e-pass accounts. The CFX limited access network that serves 3 million residents and more than 75 million visitors is fully funded by toll revenue. No tax dollars are used for CFX's $2.7 billion 5-year work plan. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment at any time, just click on that Q&A button on the bottom bar of your screen. You'll be able to type in your question or comment. We are trying to answer each question today, but if your query is detailed or needs some research on our part, we may have to follow up with you in the next week. All questions are being captured, so you'll receive an answer by email. Public comment is essential in this process. Please try to get your comments regarding the information in this virtual meeting into CFX by June 29, 2020. This virtual meeting is being conducted without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express their concerns relative to Title VI compliance by the Central Florida Expressway Authority may do so by contacting Sherry Croteau, Public Information Officer, by mail at 4974 ORL Tower Road, Orlando, Florida 32807, or by phone at 407-383-5817, or by email at construction@cfxway.com. All inquiries and complaints will be handled according to CFX procedure and in a prompt and courteous manner. CFX is widening 22 miles of State Road 417 from International Drive to State Road 528 to improve traffic flow on one of our system's busiest expressways. Each day, up to 95,000 vehicles travel this stretch of State Road 417, and that number is expected to continue growing. This widening initiative is broken into 5 segments to minimize impacts to motorists. During this meeting, we'll focus on the first 2 segments to be constructed. The first, from International Drive to John Young Parkway, and the second, from John Young Parkway to Landstar Boulevard. Both segments include widening State Road 417 from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction. CFX is also adding wider median shoulders that can temporarily accommodate additional traffic during emergency response events, such as traffic accidents or hurricane evacuations. Each segment also includes several proposed sound walls. During design, a noise study following state and federal guidelines is conducted to determine noise impacts associated with the expressway widening. The study identifies noise-sensitive sites such as homes, schools, churches, and recreational areas along the project corridor. For these projects, sound walls have been considered for areas predicted to experience noise levels that reach or exceed 66 decibels, or experience an increase of 15 decibels over existing noise levels. Additionally, the sound wall must provide at least a 5 decibel reduction to be considered feasible. 66 decibels would be slightly louder than heavy traffic 300 feet away. 15 decibels compares to the noise you would hear at night in a rural area, like the sound of crickets. There is also consideration involving the cost per benefited property. During the design process, property owners who are identified as benefiting from proposed sound walls are asked to vote on whether they want the noise barriers. Ballots, like the one pictured here, have already been mailed to those people identified as benefited property owners for these 2 projects. We've posted the traffic noise analysis on the State Road 417 Corridor's Widening Project webpage. Please review it for details or contact us with questions. Now, let's review those proposed sound wall locations for the two widening segments. This is a sound wall typical section. It shows the standard placement of the sound wall located at the outside shoulder of the expressway. Beyond the sound wall, you see the fence along the CFX right-of-way. Sometimes a sound wall is built close to the right-of-way line. Construction on the first segment from International Drive to John Young Parkway is expected to begin in early 2021 and is expected to be complete by late 2023. In addition to the widening, there are 7 proposed sound walls along this stretch of the expressway, as shown here by the orange boxes on the map. This aerial map shows the sound walls proposed at Westshire of Hunters Creek. Wall A, a 22-foot tall wall along northbound State Road 417, would be located near the right-of-way line, behind the John Young Main Plaza. It runs a little more than 2,400 feet, nearly a half mile, behind the Westshire neighborhood. Wall B, also behind Westshire, is mounted on the shoulder. It runs 700 feet, or just over a tenth of a mile, to Hunters Vista Boulevard. This wall is 14 feet tall. This aerial view focuses on the proposed 14-foot tall wall shown at the top of this map. This is along the southbound side of State Road 417 near Terra Vista at Hunters Creek, just west of Hunters Vista Boulevard. This wall is mounted on the expressway shoulder and runs 995 feet, less than a quarter mile, to Hunters Vista Boulevard. This map takes a closer look at the sound walls proposed near the Hunters Creek neighborhoods east of Hunters Vista Boulevard. Wall A is a 14-foot tall wall behind Rain Tree at Hunters Creek. It runs 528 feet, or a tenth of a mile. Wall B, also 14 feet tall, is located behind Mar Vista at Hunters Creek along southbound State Road 417 east of Hunters Vista Boulevard. It's 739 feet long, a little more than a tenth of a mile. Both of these walls are mounted on the expressway shoulder. This map shows the sound walls proposed east of Town Loop Boulevard, behind the Colonial Grand at Heather Glen Apartments on the southbound State Road 417 side. Wall A is 12 feet tall, 898 feet, or under a quarter mile long, and is mounted on the expressway shoulder. Wall B is over 20 feet tall and runs nearly 1,800 feet, or over a quarter mile long. It would be located near the right-of-way line. Construction on the second segment of the State Road 417 corridor widening is also expected to begin early next year and is estimated to be complete by late 2023. This will widen State Road 417 between John Young Parkway and Landstar Boulevard from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction. The wider median shoulders will also be added. There are 7 proposed sound walls along this stretch of the expressway. Once again, you see those in the orange boxes on this map. This map details the 3 sound walls proposed near Park Place at Hunters Creek, east of John Young Parkway, along southbound State Road 417. Wall A, closest to John Young Parkway, is 20 feet tall, runs more than 1,500 feet, or nearly a third of a mile. It will be built adjacent to the right-of-way line. Wall B is 14 feet tall, runs a little more than 1,200 feet or less than a quarter mile and will be mounted on the expressway shoulder. Wall C is 20 feet tall and runs over 2,000 feet or under a half mile long, just past the Deputy Brandon Coates Park. It will be located close to the right-of-way line. These proposed sound walls are near the Southchase and Courtney Chase neighborhoods, just west of Florida's Turnpike. Wall A is behind Southchase on the southbound State Road 417 side. It is 22 feet tall and runs just over 1,200 feet, or nearly a quarter of a mile. It's located near the right-of-way line. Wall B is 14 feet tall. It's on the northbound State Road 417 side. It runs a little over 2,000 feet, or under a half mile, from Balcom Road to just past Courtney Chase. It will be mounted on the expressway shoulder. These sound walls are proposed near Rosewood and Meadow Woods, just west of Landstar Boulevard. Wall A is 8 feet tall and runs along northbound State Road 417 from Rosewood to just east of the railroad tracks. The length is just over 1,200 feet, or nearly a quarter of a mile. Wall B is 14 feet tall and runs along southbound State Road 417 behind Meadow Woods. It is close to 1,200 feet, or under a quarter mile long. Both of these walls are mounted on the expressway shoulder. We hope this information has been helpful. Don't forget, please leave your comments regarding either of these State Road 417 corridor widening projects. These comments must be submitted by June 29, 2020, in order to be entered into our public records for these projects. Just click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen during our meeting, or send your comments to construction@cfxway.com. Following this virtual public meeting, a copy of this presentation will be posted to the CFX website at cfx-417corridorwideningprojects.com. If you have any questions before or during the construction of either of these projects, please don't hesitate to contact Public Information Officer Sherry Croteau by phone at 407-383-5817 or by email at construction@cfxway.com. For more information on these projects or any CFX projects, you can log on to cfx-417corridorwideningprojects.com. Once again, thank you for joining us. We are going to discuss some of the information that we had discussed before, just in case anyone had joined us late in the meeting. And of course, we are still accepting any of your questions. You can go to that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen anytime this evening or after the meeting tonight. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach us at construction@cfxway.com. Will, I wanted to ask about the sound wall locations and the differing heights of these sound walls and some of the considerations that go into the design of these sound walls. Why do we have different locations and different heights?
Yeah, I see that as a very common question that we've been receiving. Sound walls are typically most effective when they are closest to the properties they are meant to reduce the sound for. However, when the road climbs, or when 417 climbs in this case, an elevation to go over a bridge, the roadway is likely to be higher than the adjacent property and the sound wall that we would construct there. In these cases, we do analyze a wall placed at or near the roadway shoulder to see if there's any benefit for those impacted. And as you can see in today's presentation, that is the case in several locations that we do have sound walls mounted near the roadway shoulder or even on the roadway shoulder.
And we were talking about the widening and the need to widen State Road 417, the purpose behind these widening projects that, it's going 22 miles, and I'm just putting that slide back up on our screen. This whole corridor widening 22 miles from International Drive all the way to State Road 528, the Beachline Expressway. What is the purpose behind this widening? What's driving that?
Well, out there today we have 2 lanes in each direction, which was completed, I think, in 1991, 92, 93 time frame. So it's been a little over 25 years since 417 was built. And yes, the growth in Central Florida has been, especially in this area, has meant a drastic increase in traffic on 417. Any regular driveway of this expressway knows exactly what I'm talking about. In fact, in a 5-year period, in the 5-year period prior to us beginning design, which was about a year and a half ago, we had traffic double in 5 years.
Wow.
And that is something that I've never seen. Most of the people I work with have never seen that. So even with the slowdown in people out on the roads because of COVID-19, we know that traffic on 417 will continue to grow due to all the people moving to this area. And some say that's upwards of 1,500 people a week in the greater Central Florida region. So
that's a lot of people. And you can see, and let's take a look at the full corridor widening. We've got it up on the screen now, and I'm just going to kind of walk folks through. So starting at the far left side of the map that you see, the first 2 segments in this widening, the 22 miles, is being broken into 5 separate projects. Tonight we're talking about those first 2 segments. So the magenta or pink color on the far left, the next segment 2, that goes from John Young Parkway to Landstar Boulevard, that's that orange segment. Those are the first 2 segments that get under construction, and that's early next year, early in 2021. The next section from Landstar Boulevard to Boggy Creek Road, that section will be the next that gets underway. And then we have a darker blue section from Boggy Creek Road to Narcoossee Road. That's actually going to be the last section that is going to be constructed, just because of some of the design considerations and things going on there. The 4th section that will actually enter construction is that purple segment that goes from Narcoossee Road up to 528. So, eventually that'll be 22 miles of State Road 417 that, with the addition of those extra lanes, that's a 50% addition to the capacity, to potential capacity. So that's terrific. Let's talk.
If I could just add on to that real quick.
Please.
So a little bit of the history on why we did it that way. We took it from a demand perspective and a congestion perspective. So the working from left to right for the first 2 sections were the most congested on this section of 417. So, we kind of worked our way from west to east, but that does explain why that blue section is last, because it does not have the congestion that these other sections do have.
So that's great. So you're getting the improvements to where it needs it first.
Correct.
That's terrific. Let's talk a little bit about construction, because we have had some questions about what people might expect to see during construction. Tell us some about that.
Well, it's going to be busy. There's no denying that. If you think of all the activity that goes into a major or substantial roadway construction project of this nature, you start off with your traffic shifts to provide a workspace for the contractors and their workers. You have all the equipment needed for grading and paving of the new lanes. all the drainage for the stormwater treatment and retention, new signage, the lighting installations and conversions. We're using LED lights now that are energy efficient, and we're even filling in areas of 417 that aren't lit for safety reasons. And last but not least, we're building these sound walls. So there's a lot that's going to be going on. That's why we're going to have such a robust PIO outreach to make sure that we've got informed drivers out there. Because when you've got informed drivers, it's safer for everyone. A little bit more, there will be pile driving activities associated with the bridge and wall construction, and there will be a need for overnight work because we can't close lanes during peak travel times. That only adds to delays, and it's a bad situation for everybody. So all that being said, I mean, CFX strives to minimize construction impacts to nearby residents, and we try to keep nighttime work to a minimum, but unfortunately it is necessary. Primarily when we're setting beams for bridges over local roads, which will most likely include detours. So please make sure you reach out to Sherry to get on any list to sign up for notifications. That will prove to be useful if you're using the roads in the wee hours of the evening. So all of that being said, I mean, the work is all occurring within our right-of-way, so there's no property takings occurring as part of this.
Very nice, very nice. And, as you mentioned, the CFX Public Information Team does go out into the area prior to construction starting. We go door to door to those people who are closest to the roadway. We get the project fact sheets out. We make sure that everybody has somebody's name, number, and email to reach at any time if they've got questions or concerns. And I've just put that information back up on the screen. So our public information officer for these projects is Sherry Croteau, and you see her contact number here. While we're wrapping up right now, I want to remind people, any question that you have, please email us at construction@cfxway.com. If we haven't been able to answer your question tonight, do know that some questions may have required a little research. We will be back to you within the next week, and please go to the study, or not the study website, but the project website, and I'm going to put that back up right now. You can find the project fact sheets, you can find the noise analysis that we discussed, and certainly by Monday, June 22nd, you'll see a copy of this slide presentation, and you'll always be able to find that information. So we thank everyone for joining us today for this. Expect to see by late 2023 easier flow through State Road 417 in these projects. Thank you very much.